because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding.
Some of the people that were in the Buhari administration were interrogated over Boko Haram issues. That means they are supporters of Boko Haram. How then do you expect Boko Haram to end? And those people sat in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. So, Alex, the question I will always ask, why is it that we play the ostrich in this country? How can the DSS have so much information that they are not acting on it?
Hello and welcome to another episode of What's Trending on Green Growth TV. I am Divine Alex, and today we are discussing a major governance and security issue that has sparked global attention. We've had a busy week in Nigeria, numerous events that have surfaced and traded on the internet, which ranged from the denial of Canada visa to some military personnel, to the military addressing the public and demanding for respect, to the Nigerian Senate summoning top security officials over allegations that United States Agency for International Development, USAID funds may have by chance supported Boko Haram, which is where we will be drawing our conversations from. While investigations are ongoing, we cannot overlook that this news raises a critical issue for Africa: the intersection of governance, corruption, and sustainable development. How does financial mismanagement, whether from foreign aid or national resources, affect Africa's ability to grow sustainably? More importantly, how can African nations build stronger institutions to prevent such crises? On Wednesday, the Nigerian Senate called on the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, Director General of the Department of State Services, Adeola Ajayi, and Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Mohammed. This follows the allegations that USAID funds may have been misdirected, leading to unintended support for terrorist activities. While the investigation is still ongoing, the situation highlights deeper concerns about transparency, financial governance in Africa. Now, let us look at it from every other region, especially the African region. Now, across Africa, corruption, mismanagement, and weak financial oversight continue to hinder sustainable development. This is according to Transparency International. Corruption costs African economies billions of dollars annually, diverting funds meant for education, healthcare, and infrastructure into private hands. When public resources, including foreign aid, are mismanaged, it doesn't just slow down development, it actively contributes to insecurity and instability. To break down these issues, I am joined by a public affairs analyst and broadcaster, Adeniyi Kunu. Welcome to the show, Mr. Adeniyi Kunu. How's your week been?
Well, thank you very much. The week is fine, and I'm doing okay as well. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, on a personal note, what was your first reaction when you first heard about the USAID funds being misdirected to Boko Haram funding instead of the actual things it was, laid out for?
Well, let's not forget that we're used to hearing news of monkeys and all types of animals making monies disappear. But this time, they didn't say that animals made it disappear. They said the money fell into the hands of those that are fueling violence in the country. So that means, at last, our monies have gone into the hands of those that I can describe as human beings, but for negative purposes. Now, I didn't feel good with that information or with that development, because if you're mismanaging things that you're supposed to use at home, one would have expected that when your friends outside support you with some money to solve a problem, you'll be able to at least not disgrace your people. You keep your
Yeah.
people honor intact by making sure that the money is used for what it should be used for. Don't
Supposed to
forget
be,
that
yeah.
this huge allegation was raised by uh, Scott Perry, one of the legislators of the United States of America. And while many people are saying provide proof, then I keep telling myself all of the monies that we've heard that people take, is it every time we see the proof? We just find out that the money cannot be found where it's been. So I didn't feel
Yeah.
good because this rubs off negatively on us as a people. And that is really what we have to work on. Whether it's money from our domestic purse or money that you can describe as grants from the international circle, we have to use the money right. It's important for us. Yeah.
Okay, so now, do you think that Trump was right about, freezing this particular USAID funds? And what should Nigeria and other African countries learn from this particular development?
In the first place, let me give you a picture of how international funding works and the reason we get such support from the international community. Um, if one man is a millionaire or billionaire in a family and he doesn't see the need to support other people so that they can excel, so that they also can be independent, there will always be his problem. If poverty ravages Africa or Nigeria, before you know, it is going to be a global problem. I know the US is quite a distance from us. By air, every straight flight is about 12 to 13 hours. You could do as much as 20-something hours if you use connecting flight. But the US feels that when there is war in one part of the country, it becomes a global problem. And that's why you find out that they support the countries that are less wealthy in terms of financial and material possession so that those countries can stand on their own. So let's also know that it is not our right to be given any money. It is actually a privilege to be supported by the US and many other countries with such monies. So when this money comes, it is now our responsibility to be prudent in respect of how we spend the money. But the case is not what it is, especially in Nigeria, where we find out that for the past 19 years or 15 years, I beg your pardon, Boko Haram has been active despite the fundings that have been given in support of what the Nigerian government has also been given. So it's important to make this clear, therefore, that for us, we have to try as much as possible to behave ourselves so that the monies that we are supported with, we will not fritter it. Now, Donald Trump, for instance, let's also remember that the closure or the seizure or the cessation of the money given to us was actually done because he found out that from the US end, there has not been proper accountability. Don't forget, they talked about supporting LGBTQ with comics books in Guatemala. They also talked about, I'm quoting him now. They also talked about certain LGBTQ concerts. So you find out that as the president, he feels that that is how to direct that. For instance, when the former John F. Kennedy set up that institution in 1951, in 1961, that is the United States Agency for International Development, it was to procure. Yes. So the purposes of that, to me, has actually been thrown under the bus. And that's why, for me, don't forget, this is money from the US. It is their taxpayers' money. So the US can decide to give you from its money or not. More or less like I have the right to give whoever I want to give my money that I worked hard for, my money. So nobody should see gift as birthright. Nobody should do that. So Donald Trump has the right to not give us his money. And that's why you find out that because of the revelations, they have to come out with what has happened to the money that we've collected for a while now. So that's just it. He's right to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Trump's decision to freeze USAID, like many of his policy move, was driven by a broader skepticism toward foreign aid, arguing that it fosters dependency rather than development. Now, do you think this is a way for Africa to step up and stop dependency on foreign aid?
100 times yes. Your question is apt. Now, listen. After the United States Agency for International Development got hit by the Donald Trump verdict, I listened to the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, who addressed, I think, some people who got at an Eastern African Economic Forum, where you also have United States Agency for International Development, ambassadors and workers. And he said to many African leaders, he said, this is a wake-up call for every one of you. Now, don't forget, some of these monies are used to buy ammunition with which you kill one another. He said, right now, you have to wake up because in the first place, it's not your birthright to be given any money. In fact, that's the only person. I think there are two persons now who have been able to speak strongly to the issue of U.S. current policy and approach to what it supports or gives to Africa. So what is happening right now is something that I cannot blame the U.S. I told some of my friends in Nigeria that, listen to me, we know that many of these monies are diverted, but people like to act like ostrich. Let me tell you this, Alex, it is disgraceful. It's disgraceful that even in Nigeria, we saw what happened a few days ago. A former president, military ruler, that annulled an election that contributes to why we are what we are today, launched, his autobiography and wanted to build a library. Although few Nigerians, compared to many, even young people were saying they focused on the monies they were given at the book launch. They were not focusing on the things that he did and the fact that he has not apologized. It tells you that at times we are our own problem. So people are not willing to stand for what truth. And that is why when these things start happening, you find out that we are the first to get affected. So why would we do that, Alex? So I need to say this, that everything happening right now is a wake-up call. Nigeria has abundance of mineral resources that often is not reflected in the lives of the people. They tell you there's no money. They tell you are doing our best, but people can still be stealing in trillions. And those people are not brought to book. Later they say plea bargain. So I think that what is happening right now is absolutely a wake-up call. And I hope that this pinches us to wake up to the reality that there's no more free food in Freetown. Yes, please.
That's actually a line. Okay, now with these funds being associated with Boko Haram and the Senate's summons of security officials, is it a good call? I know you've said that it's a wake-up call and all that, but how should the government handle it without scaring off other foreign aid?
All right, listen to me. Whatever you do in your country first is how others will treat you. Whatever you do, more or less everybody in their own families. There's a way you treat your children, and when people see how you treat your children, there are certain things they can't do to them because of how you dignify your children and dignify your wife.
Treat them.
Very important.
Yes.
The leadership of Nigeria should actually be reviewed. Now, you see this one that the Senate committees are doing. They are just operating a circle. The Senate and the House of Rep have members that sit in committees that oversee whatever funds that we get to ensure that those funds are rightly administered. But Alex, I need to let you understand, the committee members will usually bring reports. That is a part of news that many Nigerians have not talked about. There are committees set up to look at such finances, grants, loans, to ensure that as we collect, we use properly. The question that we should be asking, or what we should be looking into, is where did the committee members go that the monies they gave to us to support development, those monies have gone into the hands of perhaps people sponsoring Boko Haram? That's a question that we're not asking. And I've not heard anybody talk about, and I've not heard people talk about it as something completely unacceptable. When you have a committee or committees set up at both upper and lower chambers of the National Assembly, saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that monies given to us are properly used, but these monies are not used, they kept quiet. And now they are calling the committee. The first thing they need to do, that they must tell Nigerians is, we have summoned the committee members. For instance, the Speaker of the House of Reps, the Senate President, they are supposed to summon the people that headed the committee who have oversight functions of those funds that they gave to us, that has become a subject of controversy and questions and ridicule and argument now, that you have the responsibility to oversee this particular thing. What happened with your committee? What did you do with your committee? Why are we having issues with this particular thing? Then we move to the next level. If they told us what happened, we'll now take the report of the committee side by side, what Mr. Scott Perry told us and many other persons, then we'll make a move. So you don't set up a committee to ask a question, whereas you have a committee that should have done their oversight functions of the monies that they gave to us as grants. So that is another thing. So when we talk about all of those committees set up, to me, it is absolutely ridiculous and unwarranted, because the House members already have committees that should have properly looked into those funding. So all those things they are doing now is what I call circus. They are just playing to the gallery. And that's why I said we Nigerians are oftentimes the enemies of the country, the enemies of ourselves, because we feel, consign me, make a common eye for that thing. That's not the way it should be. We are Nigerians. Yeah. So I think that is very, very apt. The committee set up, to me, a committee set up just to play to the gallery. That is for me. My opinion may not be accepted by other persons, but if you examine the logic I've placed before you, Alex, you'd agree with me that something is wrong with the committee setup. You have to, first of all, summon the committees assigned the oversight functions before you start setting up another committee. The only thing you should do, let me tell you, Alex, there are in the House of the Senate, the senators have about well over 40 committees, for the different ministries, departments, and agencies, and also every other areas where government functions. So to me, it becomes a thing of huge concern that we are talking right now about this issue, and we're not looking at it from the right angle. Your question is, there's nothing wrong with your question, but I'm simply saying that we begin from there. Okay, for instance, you said that your head hurts, or that you have a headache. You are taking off your shoes. No, the first thing you should do is either you wash your head or you take some medicine. You don't have business with your shoes. Yeah. You have business with your head. So that is where we are now, Alex. We are going to the trousers. We are going to the shoes. We're not talking about the cap. We're not talking about the head. And we're touching the shirt. So let's start from where the problem really is the committee setup and the fact that they've not done their job. Because if they raised the alarm, for instance, that there's something they found out according to these monies, would not have gotten to this disgraceful point. And let me tell you this, Alex. In 2021, because you've opened up, can I share? Do I have the time to share with you?
Yes,
can I go on?
Go ahead. Yes,
right.
Yes, go on.
In 2021, a retired Commodore Alaomi was on Channels Television and told us that some people in Nigeria have Islamization agenda. He said for somebody who worked for 35 years with the Nigerian military, it was more or less like somebody who was in the Secret Service. He was in the Information and Intelligence Unit for the Nigerian military. Now, what did he say? He said he found out in the course of time that the DSS have, for instance, the DSS they have summoned, the same DSS that they have summoned now, has in possession lots and lots of information that should have been used. He said he also, when he was still in active service, because he's now a lecturer in one of Nigeria's foremost universities, he said some of the people that were in the Buhari administration were interrogated over Boko Haram issues. That means they are supporters of Boko Haram. So if you have in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari men that are supporters of Boko Haram, how then do you expect Boko Haram to end? And those people sat in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. And we know that lots of issues have been raised regarding the level of conservatism of the former president. So, Alex, the question I will always ask, why is it that we play the ostrich in this country? How can the DSS have so much information that they are not acting on it? It is the same thing that happened when we talk about the book launch there, the last book launch of former head of state, military head of state, Badamasi Babangida. You find out that this man did not apologize. And he kept saying the election was cancelled for the interest of Nigeria. That to me, because he's an elderly man, I cannot use some adjective because that would be utterly disrespectful.
Words.
But it doesn't make any sense that somebody cancelled an election because of saving Nigeria. I don't understand. How can you do something illegal and say because you want to save? No. What you must do always is what is right and use the powers of the person who headed the country to crush those that don't want something good to happen. That's how you do it. You cannot make Nigerians suffer for the interest of some few people. That should not be. So that is the problem of the country. And that is why all that the House members are doing, they are still wasting time. They are still wasting time. Let's go ahead,
now,
please.
I want to ask you this personal question right now. Do you think that for us to actually get there, like we need to, like self-search or, maybe we need more of uncovering? Because sometimes when we talk about some of these things, right, it also talks, it fingers the fact that some of us don't actually know that some of these things are there. Do you think that we need to do more as an individual in Nigeria, in looking into how to even get the best out of us before we now start looking outside or, going to look into other people who are obviously our leaders today?
All right, let me say this, Alex. One of the things we should understand is that every issue regarding individuals continues in terms of, self-evaluation, examining oneself. It's a process that continues for as long as we live. Alex, the US that I am speaking from right now is not a perfect country. It gets better every day. The US is not perfect. Yes, I'm here, all right? And I can tell you a lot of things about this country. But while the US recognizes that it is not a perfect country, it continues to work hard in areas where it needs to be better. And they ensure that no individual, because of the systems put in place, is superior to the institutions that have been created. But this is the twist again, Alex. When somebody is voted into office to take responsibility, Alex, the responsibility mirror shifts to that person. The reason we vote for people or elect people is because we feel that as individuals, there are certain things we cannot do. So we try to look for somebody who can to represent us, to do what is right by us, for us, and with us. So whilst it is important for us to look at ourselves, when it comes to elective positions where people occupy, the responsibility shifts to them, even if we have a responsibility as well, because we put them there, believing that they have integrity, they are honest, they are capable, they are hardworking, and that they are accountable to us. So when we accomplish the process of getting people into office, then we have reflected that part of ourselves as limited in being able to all represent one another, but having somebody or a couple of people who will go there to represent us. So it is important to examine ourselves every time, because the electorate also has certain responsibilities, but it is equally important for the person who have our collective mandate to do what is right so that everybody will not be. For instance, right now, Donald Trump is taking certain decisions. Let me tell you this for a fact. Some people do not like it because the policy actually has its own impact on people. But the reality is, this man is telling you that people have been using monies that belong to taxpayers wrongly, and he's showing you proof of that they have not done this, they have not done that, and it shows you proof of that. And I think that that is the aspect that we also should consider. Since this administration in Nigeria came on board, Alex, we've asked them to probe the finances of the military under President Muhammadu Buhari. Don't forget, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had a television program, like an interview session, that's about 3 weeks or 1 month ago, they asked him that question. He deflected it, like, we will not go there now. How can you not go there? You are already like 2 years in office. Like that is what I'm talking about. In office, this is the second year, and he's not ready to do something of that nature. So if he himself happens to be somebody whose hands are clean in certain respect, then I do not think we're going to have all of this problem. So it's important, therefore, to look inward, but to also place consistency of demand on the people that occupy elective office so that they can truly, Alex, do what they have to do, which is important to us. That's how I want to pitch that question. Yes, please.
Oh, okay, so now let's look at this from another angle, right? As this Boko Haram issue has affected not just lives, it also affected security, economic stability, and our environment negatively in Nigeria. Now let's draw away lessons for Africa. How does corruption and financial mismanagement weaken sustainable development?
The first thing it does is it makes us go round in circles. Nigeria, my lovely country, is over 60 years. We cannot boast of 10 to 15,000 of electricity. Listen to me. This place that I am, the city that I am right now, generates more electricity than the entire Nigeria. Generates more electricity. And this city that I am is less than 10 million. It generates more electricity than a country of over 200 million. Because the country decided, and the city decided, that electricity which has been available in this country for well over 100 years will definitely not be something they joke with. Now, what am I bringing out of this conversation? If this corruption that we are battling is not honestly, decisively, and definitely tackled, Alex, corruption will make our children also not see the light in the dark tunnel of Nigeria. Let me say this. You need to examine certain things, Alex, because we're talking about what corruption has done. It is corruption that has made up not to allow the mineral resources we have to be what is used by us and to be able to exhaust what I call the value chain. We have mineral resources, but how much of the finished product of those mineral resources do we have in Nigeria? We've got lots of mineral resources in this country. Now, from crude oil to gas to solid minerals to the people themselves, Nigerians, and their diligence, all right? But contrary to all of those things, because we're extending the impact of this to Africa, you find out that the corruption has led to too many wars. Corruption can lead to poor health services. Corruption can lead to lack of proper education. Let's look at our education in Nigeria. When I was growing up back then at the Obafemi Awolowo University, I had people from Cameroon and neighboring African countries who were coming into Nigeria to study because they believed our country was better in terms of education. But these days, I find out that many of those things are not. In LASU, in UNILAG, University of Abuja, we used to have people back then who were not from Nigeria, whose parents were well off enough to send them here for university education. But the entire system seems to have changed now because of the endemic corruption that has kept funding for education at its lowest. If you look at it now, even many countries of the world still give academic or educational grants. But how many grants does Nigeria give to its own citizens to go out? There was a time I decided to study outside. I wanted to do something in a part of Europe. And I wrote to the scholarships board, the one in Abuja. Do you know that the phone number they put there wasn't functioning? The phone number on that, see, whatever I do here, I'm careful. It's my country. I love Nigeria.
Yeah.
That's why I've been here. Everything that I've ever done in my life that has brought me to this level, I did it by the grace of God in Nigeria. My education, my trainings, everything in Nigeria before I came here. And I need to say this. A country that you have become, Nigeria didn't pay for it. I remember the only scholarship I got being from Lagos was just one I got from Lagos State government when I was an undergraduate. After that, government don't give me any money. Everything has been God and me. God bless my parents too, when they were still giving me some change until a man became a man. I cannot point to anything that Nigeria has done for. I cannot. I still pay taxes in Nigeria as I speak. I cannot point to anything, Alex, that Nigeria has done that I can say government gave me this money, government supported it this way. Everything has been on your own. So you find out then that corruption has made all these things not possible. You can imagine children that they'll give birth to in Nigeria today. Most of them will be born and taken home without electricity. A child without sin will suffer the consequences of people's iniquity in the country by suffering in the heat. The child that came from heaven, bundle of joy, will come and suffer the iniquities of people who are corrupt. Let's look at all these things. So all this corruption will destroy development, will destroy progress, will destroy peace and harmony, and will make many people become unpatriotic. Because when you see that your country cannot provide the basics for you, and Nigerians are so hardworking that they're not even asking for food. Government, give me electricity, give me good roads, give me environment for me to succeed. That's one that government should do. Government is not even doing it. So that's a problem. So that's just it. That's it. So that's basically what it is.
Now let's move to the... Okay, no, you can go ahead. You wanted to say something more?
Yeah, I wanted to just add that, you see, every time we'll be talking about government will be telling us Nigerians do this, Nigerians do that. Let's look at Power Holding Company of Nigeria, for instance. At times they say, be responsible Nigerian. Government is the one that is owing Power Holding Company of Nigeria the highest money in debt than Nigerians themselves. And the same government will say, let us do what we have to do. Let's be good Nigeria. Is government good government by not paying its own debt first? Why is electricity a problem even after 60 years of independence? Why is it that all of the power generating set companies in Nigeria cannot be told, we want to, in the next 5 years, have consistent electricity in Nigeria? And if we want to have this electricity, while I know that you power generating companies are in business, I'm going to make sure that you are part of those that will be in the power distribution country so that you don't go out of business. You know, you create a business platform for them so that they will move away from giving us darkness. Let me tell you, many people in Nigeria are benefiting and have been benefiting for many years from those that are actually selling power generating sets. And that is why they continue to keep Nigerians in darkness, and they don't care about the country's proper electricity supply because they have some monies to gain from the darkness of the country. Nigerians are among the best physicists in the world, and they are among the best engineers in the world that are helping. Listen to me. In Saudi Arabia, you can quote me, a Nigerian of Igbo extraction happens to be one of the leading think tank members helping the Saudi Arabian electricity generating company. You can write it down and find out yourself. I don't come on air, on global media, and come and talk cheaply. I'm not talking for popularity. That's not that. We have gone past that. Because we love our country, we speak to these issues because that is what it should be. So if in our respective locations across the world, we are creating impact, why then is it difficult, despite all of the things we do across the world, to replicate the same in the country? It is because the leadership of the country doesn't like the people that can make things happen to make it happen, and that is the disgrace here, which shouldn't be. Yes, please.
Okay, now the U.S. controversy has raised several questions about oversight of both foreign aid and domestic funds, which you just pointed out a few. What are the biggest weaknesses in Africa's financial governance systems that allow such mismanagement to occur?
Lack of accountability is the first thing. Alex, lack of accountability is the first problem that continues to lead Nigeria down the drain. You see, one of the things we should understand is when you are accountable to the people that put you in offices, then you find it difficult to take certain steps. Now, if, for instance, across Africa there is accountability, we won't have a problem. And now look at what is happening across Africa. You have Paul Biya that cannot, right now, is so old that he cannot take his bath by himself. They had an election and they said he won. I have a friend in the academia in Cameroon. He wrote a particular academic paper. He said the election is an election of nothingness. He's from Cameroon. So I'm quoting a Cameroonian. I'm not quoting a Nigerian. That will not be see anybody they use Panadol for their headache. Now he use Panadol for their own headache. A Cameroonian had to write about the election of his country. Paul Biya went to one of the United Nations assembly, and he was farting there. He was farting. He's tired. And this is the person that France is supporting. Let me go to Ivory Coast, for instance, because we're talking about lack of accountability about our people. Alassane get back. Two people that were supposed to take over from him, they died mysteriously. Let us not deceive ourselves. We are Africans and we know that things happen in Africa. Two persons died mysteriously, but now still there. No election. Let me go to Uganda. Yoweri Museveni. Many years ago, the lawmakers of Uganda had to amend the constitution. Amend the constitution so that what happens? It will extend his stay in office. If you go to Rwanda, for instance, we have what's it called? Yoweri Museveni in Uganda. If you go to, I wanted to talk Rwanda, I beg your pardon, Paul Kagame. I was talking about Uganda. Let's go to Paul Kagame's Rwanda. Paul Kagame was a leading military officer when they had, what's it called? He was a leading military officer when they had the elections. And after the war between the Hutus and the Tutsi ended, he's been there. Now, I have not thoroughly studied the constitution of Rwanda, but Paul Kagame is going to be there for another good number of years. And why is that happening is something that still remains difficult for somebody to understand. Although Rwanda has grown in leaps and bounds, Rwanda is succeeding as a country. A lot of things are happening positively in Rwanda. But I still feel that it's important to take account. If you go to Egypt, El-Sisi happens to be a military officer that participated in the transition to civilian rule. But what happens in Rwanda, in Egypt, he transited from a military officer to a civilian president, and there hadn't been elections since he came into office. I'm simply saying here to you that lack of accountability will continue to affect the development. When some people feel that they have the right to remain in office, they disregard the proper processes that should have enabled people choose the leaders of their choice so that they can have proper accountability within a system. So I'm simply trying to bring to you this morning that one of the things that can really help in every aspect is for leaders to be accountable and do things that will enable that country grow. Accountability will help us. If we don't have accountability, we're going to have problem. If you look at Eyadema's son, Togo, that is close to us in Nigeria, the father was there having eliminated Olympio, and the father left office. He put his son there. Now, they made people swear that they were going to let his son remain in office. I don't understand what that problem is. Now, when you have all this kind of people in power, they will now go to African Union meeting. They will go to ECOWAS meeting. They will not be able to look at one another and say, how on earth can you remain in office when you have not held elections? You have to be able to question it. It connects to the question you asked me before. The question you asked me about examining ourselves, looking at ourselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
The African Union has not been able to look at itself in the mirror. Now they are looking at look at the hypocrisy. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali are countries that will not be part of ECOWAS again. Officially, they are exiting. And I want to say this, because military leaders came there, what has happened? ECOWAS and African Union can talk, right? But they forgot that at some point, Mali had a man in position that wasn't doing things that will favor the people that are Malians. At some point, Burkina Faso was doing the same. At other points, Niger Republic, even if they elected Mr. Bazoum, had certain problems that they were overlooking. Now, the African Union did not speak to that. ECOWAS looked the other way as if they couldn't see that direction. And it's interesting that the person who heads ECOWAS now is the Nigerian president. So what did they do? They kept quiet and allowed all those negativities to continue until the military took over. And now they are saying that the military cannot be in place. You see, it seems as if they have substituted the brains of people that are African leaders. When they are supposed to rise up against the negativity in those African countries, they keep quiet. But when it is time to speak to what will favor those that are giving them free money, they'll be quick to talk. These are the reasons why progress is affected, development is affected, sustainable development itself, as you call it, is affected. And this cycle of negativity will continue until these things are addressed.
Okay, now, judging from this recent development of all these issues that we've been discussing, many people argue that foreign aid sometimes fuels corruption rather than solving problems. Do you agree? And how can African nations ensure that both local and international funds contribute to real development?
First place, okay, let me tell you this. The first thing that I need to say is that all these funds, on a scale of 1 to 10, these funds have 8 over 10 advantages. 8 over 10 advantages. Quote me. I, sitting here years ago, I have volunteered for the United States Agency for International Development. When AIDS was on, I was with a group that actually creates sensitization and meetings around Ajegunle, Apapa area, Alabasuru area. You know, there's a primary healthcare center there. I and a couple of others. I was younger than this, and I was part of those who volunteered to create sensitization for certain months. I attended meetings for certain months. I need to tell you that here today. So I want to say that on a scale of 1 to 10, the advantages are 8 over 10. Now, the 2% that are not actually of advantage is that there are always tendencies when people give you money. When people give you money, they want to know more about you. They want to know more about information about your country. They want to have access to certain secrets that are supposed to be protected nationally. And at times, some of them also want some problems to continue for them to actually, be taken advantage of. I need to tell you that for a fact now. Now, the other part of your question, if I remember clearly, you talked about how to ensure that these funds are judiciously used. Alex, is transparency.
Yes, for real development in Africa. Yes.
Yes, Alex, it is simply transparency, Alex. It's transparency. Now, if anytime they give us those money on television, the agency responsible for the collection and disbursement sits with those who give us the money and say, we want to thank the United States Agency for International Development. They've given us $700 million this year. Last year, they gave us $650 million. Please, if you want to know how we spend the money, go to this website, check all we did, so that you can go to the areas where we spend the money to confirm. Thank you very much. This year, we have $700 million given to us. We have proposed areas of spending. It is also available on our website. Check it. Please, we'd like you to go to those locations where we want to do all this and confirm, because we're about to start. I can tell you, Alex, everything will not be questioned. Okay? But when you collect the money, no press briefing, you are training snakes and crocodiles that are to carry the money, right? When you start spending money, you didn't do anything. You have added another hyena to the zoo of your mismanagement. When you start spending those money and you're supposed to give account and you don't, you have added a lion to the zoo that you are creating for that which will carry the money and it will be unaccounted for. So if you look at all of these things, Alex, it reflects not being ready to actually and truly deal with these issues. Alex, let me say this to you. These issues can be tackled. I'm not saying these problems will go away in one day, because these problems have become endemic in our systemic issues. But we can take the right step one day at a time and be deliberate about our sincerity to make these things work. If only we can be transparent a little bit. If only we can be transparent. If only we can do that, then we'll deal with all of this. The lack of transparency is the reason we're going to continue this way. If we are transparent, we'll do it better. Why are they not accusing Ghana? Why are they not accusing Senegal? Why are they not accusing other places? Because this country has some people who are sick in their minds and they think they are normal. And let me use this platform to tell them, excuse me, Alex, anybody who think that they can Islamize my country, Nigeria, they will all die frustrated, because it will never happen. They will wait for 1 trillion years. It will never happen. And let me tell you this, their plans are completely frustrated. And that frustration will continue. And this country will remain secular. This country will never go into the hands of people who themselves don't know the way to heaven. They are already hell-bound. You can't hold people against their religious beliefs and all that. And you feel, okay, the regions of the north that are practicing Sharia, they are worse off than the south. They are more poor, more out-of-school children. They are less educated. And you want to take us to the era? Excuse me, show me, for instance, proof of what religion has done to your life. And I will forever follow that particular path. We are talking about the religion that you have used to send a lot of people to become Boko Haram members, suicide bombers, and you think that is what you want to spread across Nigeria in the name of religion? Come on, let us stop ridiculing this country. If you look across the world, the people that even brought the religion to this part of the world, they are better. The regions of the north, our own Islam is the one that likes bloodshed than many other things. Before we say two things, they say, the north, let's keep quiet. Nobody is afraid of any region of the country. I served in the north after I finished my university. I lived in the north after I finished that. And I've always maintained this position. The region that is pushing every other person, northwest Nigeria, northeast Nigeria, they are the poorest region, the poorest contributor to national wealth. Only Kano tries a little bit. Every other part, poverty, problem, and all that. And it is what you are doing. Come on, please. Let's get serious here. We are better than all these things they are giving us. We are better than it. Yes, please. So, Alex, transparency is the word. Transparency is the word.
Okay, now, given that many of us knew nothing about this USAID funding till recently, what role do you think that African citizens, I'm talking about on individual level, right, play in holding the leaders accountable to be able to foster sustainable development?
Alex, let me tell you this. You see, this social media generation will continue to suffer things like this because many of them refuse to read. They are very good to share their opinions, to do lots of... Excuse me, this phone has its advantages and disadvantages. If you don't use this phone and the gadgets you have and all the apps in the world, and many more apps are coming, if you don't deploy those things to build yourself, especially now that you even have not only Chat GPT, you also have DeepSeek. That means they want to render your ability to reason redundant, to look for fact yourself redundant. As much as all these apps have made life easier, but excuse me, the taste of noodles is not the taste of a properly cooked vegetable soup. Not the same time. You don't cook a properly prepared vegetable soup in 5 minutes or 7 minutes. You don't cook
it
that.
Takes time. Process by process.
So I've deliberately used a culinary example to drive home a point here. What you will get in 5 or 7 minutes is not the same as what you will get in 1 hour. Nobody cooks proper soup, even in 30 minutes. Don't forget, you boil the meat, you prepare the vegetable, all other ingredients, according to what they call in Nigeria, orishi, before it gets prepared. Why have I said this, Alex? I've said that. I've really used that culinary example because as a woman, you are our mothers, you understand those dynamics, and that's why I used it. It is important here to say that every young person must be made to consciously contribute to his or her development. Now, this is one book with me here by my table. It's about what? It's about the Roman Empire. About the Roman Empire. Now, this is what I surround myself with because I believe I've not even gotten to where I should get to. You have to engage in reading not only from your phone, but also get books that help you, reference things that enable you, because USAID has been in this country for long. I am privileged to know that almost every other week, they have intervention programs that they hold in Nigeria. So when people hold their phones, they go to places like Instagram and post their new eyelashes and post the new food that they took them to eat for free somewhere. Nobody tells you oftentimes that they show you their shoes, they tell you about steez. Excuse me, those things are part of life, okay? I'm not against it. They are good. But when those gossips and those social media war supersede your deliberate intention to get more knowledge and contribute to your own development, then Alex, there's a whole lot of problems you are faced with. So I therefore want to say here that their engagement begins from the angle of knowledge. I am still yet to know, but for the owner of your media platform to have said this person has an agenda to contribute to a quotient of the knowledge that is available within Nigeria's media space, right? And that's why you have a media house, because that is why you felt I can add. I'm not the only Nigerian, but for somebody to probably have told somebody that you can reach out to this person, maybe they feel that I managed to finish my primary school and I can add more knowledge to what you people are doing on your station. I'm being sarcastic here, and I know you understand me. So basically,
yes, I understand.
For young people, your phones are good. For me, I discipline myself because this phone can can take all your time. You have to caution yourself to know when to hold the phone, when to go on social media. And if you look at it, they've added threads to it now. Now, I don't know the one they will add tomorrow. Maybe the one they will add tomorrow will make you be able to say things. You know, development keeps going on. And the more you have engagements on social media, the more it takes away the reality of connecting at the level of individuals without using your phones. Phones are good. Gadgets have helped us, but they also limit us. So we have to play a conscious role in not allowing ourselves to be swept completely away by all of the distractions that are associated with what we do. So for young people, you have to be ready, you have to be deliberate in seeking knowledge, and you also have to cross-check your facts and also focus on the things that will help you. See, young people hold a lot of promise for us. They hold a lot of promise. They are very intelligent. They tell you they are smart, but they are not deep. Okay, they are not deep. Take away Google, they are empty. Take away Bing. If you take away social media from young people's life, they are empty. They are empty, completely empty. They are lonely. They are suicidal at times because their life has depended so much on machines that they can't connect truly with people. Okay, so we have to ensure that we let children, as they grow up and young ones, know the importance of it. We may not be able to do much with those that are teenagers, but we can still do more by sitting them down and guiding them. After all, we have responsibilities over them. Alex, back to you, please.
We only talked about how to hold them accountable, but like you've mentioned earlier about how we can do more if we are, you know, especially for the leaders who are supposed to be very transparent in telling us, oh, so and so amount came in and all that. Now, from an African citizen on individual level, how do we make sure that we ensure this transparency, it goes on perfectly in financial management, especially relating to foreign aid?
Now, if you say something, if you see something, you have to say something, Alex. It's all the offices where this money is, the offices that actually administer these funds are offices where people work. And more often than not, there's an accountant there, there's an auditor there, there's an engineer there, there's an administrator there, there's a legal unit there. Most of these people usually have access to certain information regarding how these funds are disbursed. And they are the ones that can tell you almost immediately if these funds are disbursed right. Alex, the only thing they need to do is to speak out. And that is where social media comes as being useful. If you work in an organization, it's just that oftentimes the consequences are always very heavy. The person who works in an organization and reveals a secret of mismanagement will be fired. The person there could be lies against the person, and the person can be taken to court. So you have to be ready to pay the ultimate price for your deliberateness in actually speaking up. Because, excuse me, nobody can fight an institution and win all the time. The institutions of corruption fight back. The former finance minister, Okonjo-Iweala, said in her book that corruption fights back when they had the book presentation years ago. You have to know that anytime you speak up against corruption, you also must not have been part of those eating from that corruption, because it will be pointed out. It means, therefore, that in the course of our growth to become successful and recognized career persons, we are careful what we do along the line as journalists, as lecturer, more or less like a lecturer who wants to speak against rape in universities, but every week he takes another girl home from amongst his students by force to have something to do with them. It's going to be difficult for such a lecturer or such professor to say, you people should leave the students alone. No, it can't happen, because the people that have his database will just say, oh God, what are you saying? We have your database. We know when you went to X, Y, Z places, and we know what you did with so and so students, and that is what it is. So I'm simply saying that it is important, therefore, to try as much as possible, and I mean it, to try as much as possible to not allow all these things we have knowledge of to go away like that, we have a responsibility as individuals to be co-warriors and fighters in ensuring we say something. And if you also are given part of the proceeds, say no. You can say no. But when you have collected, you will always, you see, that's just it. The Yorubas have a saying, and it over jegbi, omakugbi. So if you don't swallow like a big muscle of poundo, you will not feel like the swallowing it is heavy on your chest. So that is what it is, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So what are your final thoughts for anybody who is viewing this?
Well, I like us to know that a tree can never make a forest. I cannot be the only person speaking against what happens in government. I've been doing that for many years with facts on different platforms, and I keep doing that. As a matter of fact, some of the media houses get uncomfortable with some of the things I say. I don't accuse people. I bring the facts. And some of them at times just whisper to me, can we just keep away from such discussions? But you see, if we don't contribute to what will make all these problems go away, we're going to be part of it. We're going to be part of it. We're going to be part of those that don't enjoy the benefits of our country. We're going to be part of those that don't enjoy the benefits of the best or quality individuals that we have as Nigerian citizens who are doing well abroad. So I think that what is important for those watching us is to know that you can be part of the change and not part of the problem. In any area where you are contributing to the daily issues of Nigeria, you have to decide that I will do right in my office, I will do right in my business. For instance, if you are a tire repairer, you don't say you want to buy tire for somebody, you buy the less quality one, collect more money, you're part of the problem. You don't work in an office where you don't sign a form or push a file until they settle you. These are the things that contribute one way or the other to the issues that we have. It therefore behooves every one of us, including me, because now I've put myself in the hot seat with all the things I've said now. It means that when I go out of here, today, whatever I do, I must be diligent, I must be truthful, I must be selfless, I must be responsible, and I must be accountable to anybody that gives me a task to accomplish. As you are there, for instance, if you're supposed to get to work maybe at 7 a.m. and you get to work at maybe 8:30, in fact, in the media, that will be reviewed because the programs won't go. That one will reveal it immediately. So basically, we have to try and love our country. It is difficult to love a country that doesn't love you with its leaders. But we have to understand that we owe our country that responsibility and make it a better place. God bless Nigeria. Jesus Christ is the Lord. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adeni Ikuni, for joining us today on What's Trending. It has been very, very, very insightful because we went all out. Now, as Africa moves towards a more sustainable future, governance must be at the center of this conversation. Mismanaged funds don't just slow down progress. They actively undermine security and stability. Stronger institutions, informed citizens, and accountable leadership are the foundation of real growth. That's all for today on What's Trending. Stay engaged, stay informed, and let's work toward a more transparent and prosperous Africa. See you next time. I am Divine Alex. If you have questions or comments, our comment section is open for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all our social media platforms at Green Growth TV. Bye for now.